This conversation begins in the book of Matthew, Matthew chapter 4, verses 1 through 4. Now, while you're turning there, let me just digress for a moment. I mentioned to you last week that June the 19th, this Sunday, is Father's Day. And fathers are going to be celebrated, honored all across the globe, and deservingly so. But I wanted to go just a little bit further, and so I've declared that the month of June is Father's Month. Because, men, we are never off duty. We are on duty 24/7, 365 days of the year. Let me tell you why. As men, you're created in the image, likeness of God. And so therefore, God doesn't get a day off. I mean, the sun is still holding up in place, and the moon and the stars and gravity is still holding in place. And so God never takes off. And so if God doesn't take off and we're creating this image and this likeness, then we shouldn't be taking off. We should be the example of what the Godhead looks like. Yes. So when your wife and your daughters, your son, when your family looks at you, they should see right through you and see Jesus in you. And that's what we want to talk about. What is your leadership style? That's a question I want to ask you. What is your leadership style? Let's just get a glimpse of what Jesus' leadership style is. Matthew chapter 4, verse 1 through 4 reads like this. Then was Jesus led up of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil, to be tempted. Man, if you're going to lead, you're going to be tempted. I mean, all day long. There's something coming at you. There's something trying to make sure this flesh will rebel. Something is trying to make sure this flesh will give in to its urges. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterwards hungry. And when the tempter, the devil, came to him, he said, if thou be the Son of God, that word if, he's always coming with doubt. If thou be. Now, Jesus knew who he was, and the devil knew who Jesus was, but he wanted to make sure Jesus, yes, had a chance to pause for a moment. I pray that the devil don't catch you pausing. No, you've got to be ready. You've got to be a watchman upon the wall. We don't have time as leaders. We don't have time to be drifting. Right now, when you look at the big picture, we're being tempted and we're being distracted. That's what's happening. Yes, as leaders, we're being tempted and we're being distracted because there's a bigger game in play. Command that these stones be made bread. No, command that this flesh gives in. I don't think so. Command that your mind, your soul gives in. I don't think so. Listen to what Jesus says. But he answered and said, it is written. Now, that's where we should be. It is written. Not asking me or your daddy or your priest or your pastor or anyone. If you come to the Word of God, Jesus is telling you how to speak. It is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeded out of the mouth of God. Do you hear me? That's where we should be. We should be living between the pages of the Word of God. If you're wanting to see great leadership, if you're wanting to model great leadership, if you want a great leadership style, this is where you come. Don't get me wrong. Men, we can pour into each other, but this is where we come. This is where nobody's trying to lie to you. No one's trying to get over you. No one's trying to pull a wool over your eyes, if you will. No one's trying to get something from you. The Word is just trying to educate you for what's coming and how you need to be prepared. You see, great leadership is all about knowing what's important. And it's about disciplining yourself, 40 days of fasting. Discipline yourself, discipline this flesh, discipline your mind to be ready to stay on task. That's going to take some discipline. That's going to take some consecration. That's going to take some you breaking you, away from the table, yes, away from the TV, away from your wife from time to time, away from entertainment and all the things that come with this world. You've got to distance yourself. You've got to be in isolation, by the way. That's what leadership is. Leadership has to be isolated and sometimes insulated to get away from the worldly things, if you will. The leadership style that you have, it has to be one of accountability, one of responsibility. That's what we all have to be. Satan is trying to kill you. And he's trying to distract you from your ministry. He's trying to distract you from your leadership role. He's trying to pull you out of the home. That's what he's always been trying to do. If he can get you, he's got your family. That's what he feels. And 9 times out of 10, he's right. If he can get you, he can get them, he feels. Because you as the leader of your house, you turn the whole house upside down when you abandon it. And everyone's grasping for who should we follow? Well, hold up. Fathers, don't leave your home. Your children and your wife and all your friends and family members should be following. It's you, because you're following Jesus. We have this tendency to say, do as I say, but don't do as I do. Or do as I do, but don't do as I say. I mean, just think about that for a moment. Jesus is the example for all of us. Jesus says, do as I do and do as I say. See, most of us don't carry the weight like that. We on one side or the other. Have you ever just given some time, some thought to the type of leader that you've become? I mean, have you ever just sat down and thought about it? Because when you think about it, everybody wants to lead. I mean, your children wants to lead you. Your teenagers wants to lead you. Your wife wants to lead you. I mean, everybody wants to take the leadership role. It's just so appetizing to everyone to be large and in charge. But everyone's not built for that role. Men, you're built for that role. Yeah, it's in your DNA. You were born to be a leader. Now, you might be saying, I'm not the boss at work. Well, I didn't ask you about your boss at work. You're supposed to be the leader of yourself. Yes. You're supposed to be leading young men and young women. You're supposed to be leading your family. Let me ask you this. Do you have Bible study at your house? Do you have prayer at your house? I mean, see, that's leading by example. That's leading. That's being a great leader. It's instituting those type of activities in your home. It's not always about being on the job or somewhere else and being the man in charge. No. It's about leading right where you are, right where your feet are firmly planted. Lead can turn into being greed. And that's what most people are chasing is greed, not lead. And that's why you see them bleeding on the people. There's a game that we used to play as children called Follow the Leader. I played that game several times, and you pick someone in the group, and whatever they did, you'd have to follow. If they touched their nose, touched their eyes, touched their ears, whatever it was, touched their head, touched their stomach. I mean, you had to follow them because they were the leader. And then sooner or later, it becomes your turn to be the leader. But most of the children would get so impatient because, guess what? Because they wanted to lead. They had no patience to wait. They just couldn't. And that's the way some of the adults are right now. Some of you have no patience. You're so anxious to take the lead, to take, as they say, the bull by the horn, to take charge, and you have no skills for it. You have no education, you have no training, but you just want it because it's there. Because somehow somebody told you that one size fits all. They were talking about clothes. They weren't talking about leadership. No, clothes. Let me show you why. Because see, some of you have a leadership style that you can tell that you haven't been taught. You just simply picked it up. Some of you are what I call busy being busy leaders. You have that leadership style. Yeah, you have no tempo. You have no flow. No, you have no rhythm. You have no pace. You just go. Wow. Some of you have the workaholic leadership style. You're exhaustive. Oh my gosh, who wants to be around you? I mean, you make my head hurt. You're like that Energizer bunny. You just won't stop. You won't shut up. You just keep going and going and going. You just love hearing yourself talk. And some of you have what I call the micromanagement leadership style. You're the watchdog at work. Yeah, no videos required when you're at work because you're watching everyone. You just watch everything and everyone. You have major trust issues. You don't trust anyone at work. And so you're there 24/7. And then when you do go home, you take that work home with you. So you're no good for no one. You're the type of person who needs to be single. You need counseling, that's for sure. And some of you have what I call the hands-on approach leadership style. That's the kind of style where your employees are not being developed because you won't let them be developed because you won't let them make a mistake. No, so you're doing their work for them so you can keep it on pace, and you don't want anyone to make a mistake because, if you do make a mistake, you do know that that's the way people learn. And that's the way people can be developed. But you don't want mistakes in your area, so guess what? You do all the work, so you're just doing their work for them. Wow, that means no one's growing, not even you. And then there's the visionary leadership style, the one that's strategic, and that person is a builder of people. That person is a planner. That person is a developer of people and themselves as well. That person is a teacher. That person is invested. That person is a great mentor. See, that's the style you want. You want someone who has a vision 5, 10, 15 years in advance, and they're planning for it. They're developing you for it as well. That's the type of leadership style that most of us desire, and most of us should gravitate towards. When it comes to leadership, there are several ingredients that's required to be a great leader. And I picked out 4. Now, there's many more, but I picked out 4. And the 4 are the 4 M's. Modeling leadership. Mentoring, yes, mentoring leadership. Molding leadership. And measuring leadership. You see, when you model leadership, you remind me of Jesus walking through the land, modeling. When we start picking people to model our lifestyle after, if you will, our leadership style after, we're not picking Moses and Noah. We're not picking David. We're not picking Peter, none of the disciples. We're not picking them. We're not picking Jesus. No, we're picking individuals who have the celebrity status. When you model good leadership, that when you walk into a room, yes, you bring this aura about yourself. You bring this swagger. And everybody wants to talk to you. Everybody wants to know, what advice do you have for them? You see, that's modeling yourself before everyone. But do it in a Christian way. There's a way to do it, man. Do it the way Jesus would do it, walking through with humility and love, yes, and peace. Do it that way. Walk through being courageous, bold. I don't mind you being a risk taker, but walk through. And walk through without being distracted and being tempted by the enemy. And then there's the other M, mentor. Now, we've seen Elijah mentoring Elisha. So we know what mentoring can look like in the Word of God. We've seen Jesus mentoring the 12 disciples, and we see Moses mentoring, if you will, the 12 tribes of Israel. And so we understand what mentoring kind of looks like. I mean, it's somebody who's a trusted advisor, if you will. Somebody who has a mentorship of influence and guidance. It's someone trying to mold someone to be better, to be more productive than what they are. Someone trying to get you to the next level. And we see that all throughout the Bible. But we don't see people modeling that. Not the way we should. And then we see the word molding. What does molding leadership looks like? Well, come on. It's shaping you. Yeah, it's changing you. It's putting some things, well, really and truly, you've got gifts inside of you. It's just someone taking it and molding it to where you can almost perfect it to where it's productive for you. It's like the potter with the clay, molding that clay and making it perfect, if you will, making it for the vessel it should be. But be careful permitting everyone to touch you. Yeah, let no one lay hands on you suddenly. Be very careful that everybody don't put their hands in their mouth on your life, because that's not what you need. You need someone who's responsible, someone who's accountable, someone who's a good mentor, someone who wants to pour into you, not pour out of you. And then we have measure. Leadership is about measuring. How many units do you have? I mean, what size? What's the amount of what you have? What's the degree of something? But really and truly, when you break it down, measuring is simple. How do you measure success? Yeah, all that mentoring, all that molding, all that modeling, is that productive for you? How do you measure that? Well, you measure it by simply successes and failures. I mean, some of you will look at numbers. No. Look at souls. Yeah. Look at what you can pour into someone to make their lives better. That's how you should be measuring. Be very careful. Allowing yourself to be molded by and molded from someone who doesn't have your interests at heart. Be very careful. You see, good leadership can be measured by your success. Are you leading the people, or are you bleeding on the people? Let me just do a quick segue. The model of leadership that you have become is from the mentoring that you have allowed to happen because of the molding that you permitted. And that's why you can measure success so easily. We can see all kind of models in our life. And we can have all kind of mentors, because everyone wants a mentor. You know, everyone wants the pastor to be their spiritual father. And I get that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you've got to be careful who's pouring into you. Not just anybody can pour into you. Not just everyone wants to pour into you. Let's be for real. Some people are not even capable, don't even have the capacity to pour in you properly. So be careful who you're allowing to speak into your life. And be very careful, wolves and sheep clothing. Yeah. Instead of pouring great leadership in you, watch this. They know you, see, they know you gifted. They're pulling great leadership out of you. Repeat after me. Jealousy will kill and not build. Yes. I pray that you know the differences. When it comes to leadership, look at that word leadership. Leadership. Break it down. L-E-A-D, lead, E-R, and then ship. 3 components. We know what lead is. We're leading, and everyone wants to be the leader. And so we're leading a company, we're leading a family. And then there's the ER, and ER is an acronym for emergency. So something is hot, something is heated, or something is emerging. And then we have a ship. And a ship normally has a capacity to hold a whole body of people. And so when you look at leadership, you've got that whole word coming together collectively for you. And that's what you want to be. You want to be the leader of something that you can really manage, something that you can really solve the problems of. And that's that ER, that emergency. Something you can come in like in trauma, and you can be someone who's really powerful in helping out that trauma area, if you will, something that's traumatic. And it's normally a body of individuals that's tugging along. And so you want to be the leader of that ship, yeah. You want to be someone who really is able to develop and pour into those individuals, because once you've done that, once you've really led the ship correctly, guess what? It's like a cruise ship. It's just sailing right along. And that's what great management looks like. Men, when we look at great leadership, I mean, we as men, we're always protective, we're provisionaries, we're providers. And so when we look at giving ourselves to a woman, to a wife, and having children, I mean, some of the first things we look at is the protective measures, if you will. The community we're going to live in, the city we're going to live in, what's the crime rate? I mean, is there great public schools? Is there great private schools in this particular area? Is it a gated community? I mean, does the neighbors take care of their property? We're looking at all these things. Is it more like a community or a village, or is it really everybody just isolated? You're looking at all those things to protect your family. And that's a great leader. That's a great father. That's a great man. And then we look at protecting our family with having a 401k plan, having life insurance, having investments. I mean, we just go down the gamut of making sure that we're stable and we have the things for our family. That's just in your DNA. That's what you should be doing, is making sure that your family is taken care of. If something happens to you, your family is well off. I've watched so many pastors, so many preachers pass away, and their wives are from first lady to welfare with just the matter of just minutes. That's just a sad case. I mean, the pastor could even pay for his own funeral. Think about that for a moment. That's just not great leadership. I mean, I know you were a man of God, but let's be for real. You've got to lead by example. You can't leave your loved ones holding the bag and filing for bankruptcy and basically being put on welfare. That's not great leadership. I'm trying to teach you something. We're living right now in a time where inflation is at an all-time high. And people are spending like it's, I don't know, like it's Christmas. People are just spending every single day. No one is planning. No one is putting away. When I said no one, I mean, most of us are not putting away anything for a rainy day. And it's about to start raining. It's sprinkling now. Really, it's been downpouring for a while, and we've just been ignoring it. But I'm just saying, just losing this message, it's sprinkling right now, but there's going to be a downpour coming. I pray that you have had enough leadership sense to put some things away, to understand that this is an unprecedented season. And as a man of your house, as the head of your house, I pray that you're protecting your family, that you've stored some things away. I pray that you look from this perspective that some of you men, when you look at it, you've been praying so long. I mean, P-R-E-Y, praying on women, praying on investments, on companies. You've just been doing the wrong thing for so long that you don't know how to pray, P-R-A-Y. And that's what it's going to take during this time. It's going to take lots of prayer. Not praying, it's going to take praying, P-R-A-Y-I-N-G. And if you're not suited up for it, you and your family are going to fail. This is a season that you change some things around. You turn some things around. You start having Bible study. You started calling prayer night. As the man, that's your responsibility. You always wanted to be the man, then be the man. It's inside of you. Leadership has always been inside of you. As Jesus tells us, he fasted for 40 days and for 40 nights. He's telling us he's doing it because the tempter is coming. The tempter is coming for you and your family. As the head of the house, I pray that you're not found sleeping. I pray that you're not found wanting. You're not found lacking because you allowed yourself to be distracted and you're out there enjoying and partying with this world. And when things happen, now you're running and you're crying, you're begging, you're asking for help. That's a sad look for a man to be begging. When you had plenty of time to be planning and to be preparing, to be the visionary for your family. I pray, let this be the best Father Day, the best Father Month, if you will, of your life. Start prepping your family. Start preparing your family. Yeah, start leading your family by example. Hold on to Jesus' coattail, like the one with the issue of blood. She refused. She had to touch the hem of his garment. I pray that you touch the hem of his garment and that you let him lead you, yeah, in and out of these ebbs and flows of life. That you buckle down, yeah, that you strap yourself up, and that you be the man that God is calling for during these last and evil days. Something is coming. I just pray that you realize to be a good leader, you have to be looking forward. And if you're not looking forward, all you're doing is babysitting. That's all you're doing. That's all you're doing. Yeah, don't be busy, busy, busy. We'll talk about that in a message down the road called The Handyman. You don't want to be busy. No. You don't want to be distracted because you need to be at your highest level. You need to be preserved, if you will. That means you need to be in shape. You need to be healthy. Yes, you need to be mentally, physically, spiritually sound. You need to check your lifestyle. If whatever's going to jump off, you need to be ready. But you can't do it if you're sick and tired and confused because you bought into this worldly system. No. Model yourself in front of your family. Make them proud of you. Mentor those young people in your life. Yes. Mold them to be the best they can be so that they can measure the success based on what you've taught them, what they've learned. So when rocky days ahead comes, guess what? They can bounce back quick because they know how to measure success. Let me ask you this question as I close. What's your leadership style? Okay. Let me ask you this question as well. As a leader, are you in the way or are you the way in? Don't forget Romans 10:9. Confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and that God has raised him from the dead. Yes, confess and believe, and you too shall be saved. Great leaders lead their family to Jesus Christ. Great leaders. We talked about all this other stuff about leadership. Great leaders lead their family to Jesus Christ. Great leaders. That's what great leaders do. Yes, we can talk about all the other stuff we talked about, but if you're not leading your family to salvation, shame on you. As a man created in God's image and likeness, that is your sole responsibility, is to lead your family and let them give their lives to Jesus Christ because of your great example of modeling, mentoring, molding, and measuring in front of them. You be blessed.